Welcome back to CinemaCult. I'm Chris.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Honto.
Matt, what was up with that delay? And I'm Matt.
And I'm Matt.
Welcome back to CinemaCult. I'm Chris.
I'm Matt.
And
I'm Honto.
And that's Honto. Just did that. So basically, we're continuing our summer break movies. Is that what we're calling this?
Summer break.
Summer break
movies.
And so we did The Sandlot, and we decided that another one we feel represents the summer really well is 1987's Lost Boys, which we have seen so many times collectively. I'd even watch it for this podcast. I've watched it twice in the past 8 months.
I listened to it.
So
I just had my eyes closed.
Right.
I listened to it. I was absorbing the sounds of the Lost Boys.
You had never seen it though. Honto, you never saw this movie. You just listened to the audio.
Yeah, so I thought it was an audio podcast. I thought they were, it was like an audio podcast or doing just audio only of the movie. So
okay, maybe we should do that. We should pick a movie for the podcast we've never seen,
just describe
and not watch it. We'll just listen to it and then give up our interpretations of what happens in the movie.
And then we're like, oh, that's what we were talking about. That's that part.
I didn't see that coming. Matt, I know you've seen this a million times as well, right?
So many damn times to the point where this movie has I have no emotion attached to it anymore. You know what I mean? You ever watched a movie so many times that's you don't realize you keep waiting for certain scenes to pop up and then you realize they've already happened because you've phased it out. You've daydreamed while you've watched the movie and you're like, oh yeah, that already happened.
Because I think we talked about that.
You know what I'm talking? It's kind of a weird feeling.
We talked about that with I think Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Where we had watched it so many times that we knew exactly what was going to happen. And you just kind of phase it out. Mm-hmm. And I think we talked about it, how we're probably never going to watch that movie ever again because we've seen it so many times.
Yeah. Lost Boys is one of those movies for me where it's I could probably never watch it again because I've seen it so many damn times. Yeah. But this is and I've kind of dabbled with should I put this on my top 100? Because I've seen it so many times, but it's also I don't ever want to watch it again. Right now, I don't ever want to watch it again. I think once I have kids, I think it'd be really, really cool to show my kids this movie.
Yeah, when they're when they're 4 years old and they get traumatized, you're like, watch this.
But it'd be cool to kind of vicariously live through them and show them Lost Boys. And then I would probably enjoy it again. But I've just seen this movie so many damn times.
Sure. Yeah. So, and I know talking about this, we're gonna have a lot to say. So let's get right into it. 1987 Lost Boys. What do you think it has on Rotten Tomatoes? Matt, we'll start off with you. Go.
79%.
Okay. Honto.
74%.
76%. Matt wins Honto wins because he didn't go
Honto
over.
wins.
So, yeah. Let's play. What do the sequels have on Rotten Tomatoes? 2008 Lost Boys, The Tribe. What does it have on Rotten Tomatoes? Honto, start off with you.
48%.
Okay. Matt.
32%.
0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
What?
Now, was this rated by anybody, or was it just a?
Yeah, it was out of reviews, so it wasn't just rated.
Wow,
yeah,
that's crazy.
2010, The Lost Boys.
Wait, we can't just brush it. You said 2007.
I was talking about.
Are we in the future?
I was going to talk about
the future of 2007.
It's like Stranger Things, I am 2007.
I was going to bring up the artist Devin Campbell. That's what I was going to talk about, and you blew it. Okay, 2010, Lost Boys: The Thirst. Rotten Tomatoes score. Matt, go.
I haven't seen this one.
You've seen the other one?
I've seen the second one.
Oh my God.
We rented it when it came out. Yeah, it was a big deal. I don't think it was 0%.
Yeah, I don't think it's 0%, but I think honestly, it's one of those. It's too late. If it would have came out back in the 90s, I think it would have been actually probably the same.
Now, is it something is it something?
Now that I'm thinking about it.
Is it something? No difference. Is it something that we could round out the trilogy by watching these other movies? Is it not?
Nah.
Okay.
I don't think it's worth.
This is this is basically, and not to say just because it's just vampires. It's From Dusk Till Dawn. Where it's the first one's really great, and then there's 2 and 3, and they're just kind of whatever. Straight to video.
Gotcha.
Spinoffs. The third one. So what's it rated?
Wait. Yeah.
Rated 17, R. The answer was rated R.
Rated R. 17% on Rotten Tomatoes for me.
I mean, if the second one's 0, I gotta say 0% for the third one.
It's 0% for the third one. That is correct. Both sequels have 0% in Rotten
How many
Tomatoes.
out of how many reviews?
I think it was 7 or 8. So
Okay.
but I mean,
Yeah.
they're like legit. I looked into it. It's like real reviews, professional reviews. So, but that's
Do
a
you
shame.
think talking about this though, like as time passes on, if somebody had nostalgia attached to it, like, do you think it would have a higher rating if it was older? Like if it was I'm sorry, let me start that over. If these two sequels came out in the 90s, straight to video, do you think they would have had a higher rating because of nostalgia factor? Like, oh, it's a stupid movie, but I like it. You know, like those kind of people. Like, I don't know. I just find it fun. Like, I don't know who that person is from the 90s.
I mean, because
I grew up watching it as a kid.
Because there's two other from Dusk Till Dawn's also like the 90s. I feel like there's nothing that would change the fact that there's no reason to do sequels for Lost Boys unless it were like a separate story somewhere else in the world, new characters or whatever. You don't have to continue the story of, the Frog Brothers, which I think that's what the other two sequels are about. It's like the further adventures of the Frog Brothers,
Yeah, well, that's what they tried before they made the second one. I guess Joel Schumacher was really pushing for the Lost Girls, and it was going to be none of the original characters going to be in it except for David.
Okay.
Because the whole point is what he said. I think he said you never see David die. Yeah, so he would be the one that survived. And it's basically this whole new group of people. But and I guess Joel Schumacher pushed really hard for it, and they came out with that sequel. And I guess he was really upset that they went forward with this other one. So, what could have been?
That would have been stupid if David.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, he's dead. He's dead in the first movie.
Oh, I would.
It is. That. It's a little vague. Like he's the only one who dies, not like, in a vampire,
explosion?
not in a vampire way.
Yeah,
because he gets impaled on antlers, and it's like that's not wood.
No, he dies from crying.
Yeah, he's crying.
Oh,
he cries to death.
Yeah, he dries himself out.
The antlers hit his Walkman and starts playing "Cry Little Sister" on his Walkman.
Is it gotta do what it says?
I'm tuning out. I always forget that, but Schumacher says that he doesn't die at the end of this movie.
So,
but here's my question then. If David doesn't die at the end of this movie, he probably dies because who's the master vampire?
Max.
Max.
You've seen this movie. You should know who this character is.
Sorry. Max dies.
Yeah.
And because when Max dies, everyone he turned into a vampire becomes human.
Yeah.
So David would have died because David would have turned into a human.
Ouchies.
Yeah, he would have turned back into a human while being impaled by antlers. So he would probably died anyways.
Yeah.
So if anything, David that's pure murder because he was a human.
So like,
and Jason Patric committed.
It's murder. Understandable if you're like vanquishing like a monster, but now since he's human, you just committed murder.
Yeah, you're on a streak, and you're like, "What's one more body?" Like that's messed up.
Yeah,
and shame on
those Lost Boys.
Put these plastic fangs on him. He's a vampire.
Yeah, we'll tell the cops. I don't understand.
His vampire's kiss. He puts them on. David's like, "See, he's a vampire."
Yeah.
Ooh, don't go too close.
So domestically, how much do you think this movie made? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start over. Budget. What do you think the budget was for Lost Boys? Matt, start off with you. Go.
15.
Honto.
25.
8.5.
Oh wow, this is low.
Pretty nice budget.
Low.
Yeah,
that's pretty low. Surprisingly,
that's impressive for what they're able to accomplish in this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of, because usually I'll bring. This is a little bit of trivia, Matt. Hope I don't steal this from you, but there's a lot of big artists in this movie. Like the soundtrack's solid. Yeah. You have like In Excess. You have like the singer from Foreigner, singer from Who. Like it's a pretty big soundtrack. And I guess what Joel Schumacher did.
Sorry.
This is gonna be a tough one.
That's
Keep
great.
going.
I love it.
We're gonna call him Joel Schumacher for the rest of the episode. We have to.
By Joel Schumacher.
Chris looks like he wants to punch a baby right now.
It's extreme. So what Joel Schumacher did in order to get all these music rights is he promised all the artists that he would direct their music videos for them if he let them use the music.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he?
So Well, I know he did In Excess's. He did one of In Excess's videos. I think he only promised In Excess and Foreigner, which are the two big names on the album. But I don't know what Foreigner song he would have directed. So, but I think that's pretty cool that in order to work with the budget, he promised these favors. But
I only see videos for In Excess, and then I guess he made videos for like Lenny Kravitz and Seal. Seal for I think the Batman Forever soundtrack. And then I don't know why Lenny Kravitz, but yeah, those are the only 4 that I see on his like filmography.
So what was the Lenny Kravitz one?
Heaven Help, the European version.
Okay, and what was the other In Excess? I know it was
Devil Inside and then Kick.
Okay.
Or yeah.
So.
Or yeah, sorry, it's like a video documentary for Devil Inside.
Okay, yeah, and I know. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
So that's what he worked with at the budget. I thought that was cool. So I do not have any international or worldwide. So we just have domestically. Okay. So in the States, how much did Lost Boys make? Matt, we'll start off with you.
58 million.
85 million.
32.
Oh wow.
Yeah, not a huge movie.
Yes, it was, right?
Yeah, it's like 4 times its budget.
Yeah, it's a big movie. Not today's standards, but back then,
in $80 is probably
that's a lot of money, dude.
No, even then, I mean, adjusted, that's probably only like 65 million.
Yeah, but like for its budget, like that made a lot.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, but it's not like a blockbuster or anything. I should have looked it up.
That is a blockbuster.
32 million is a blockbuster is considered anything over 100 million.
Oh yeah, we talked about this.
We talked about this, because Jaws was the first one to start off the blockbuster trend. So if anything, this isn't like a blockbuster; it's more like a Hollywood video or a movie gallery.
Yeah.
You see what I did there?
I like how you're making it sound like Lost Boys is like this movie gallery
movie
that we're covering. Like, you ever heard of it? I
feel like you're offended. You're like 32 is a lot of money. It is.
I don't know, because I feel like if I made $32 million, you'd be like, that doesn't sound like a lot of money, man. You could have made more.
Mom's disappointed. So 32 million domestically. That's all I got for my numbers. Hanto, you want to take us through the cast and crew?
That's a big one.
Directed by Joel Schumacher.
Wink. Hanto with the flamethrower. Sick burn.
Previous episodes, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. I don't think we mentioned it in the previous episodes, but he's kind of notable for getting Colin Farrell's career off the ground with Tigerland. It was like a Vietnam war movie. And then he continued to work with Colin Farrell with in Phone Booth. And then,
solid movie.
What's that?
Solid movie.
Yeah, like Isolation movie. What were you laughing about just now, by the way?
Yeah,
it's just really obscure trivia. You're like, he's known for starting.
Well, no, I remember when Tigerland came out, it was like, Colin Farrell, knocks it out of the ballpark, and then basically that's where he started.
Yeah.
So, but it's weird because Joel Schumacher did the Batman movies, and now Colin Farrell is joining the DC universe as Penguin in the new, like the upcoming Batman movie.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. But yeah, he also directed like 8mm and Falling Down. And then we got Jason Patric as Michael, previous episode from last month, The Beast, aka The Beast of War. And then other movies that I saw in his filmography was, and this is a poster that I always saw like in the video store, but Roger Corman's Frankenstein, Unbound. It's one of those movie posters you probably saw all the time, but probably have never seen the movie. I mean, I've never seen it, but
yeah, it was on Sci-Fi Channel a lot back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I watched it on there.
Is it good?
It was okay. It's cool because Raul Julia is in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
cool.
But other than that, it's kind of like
just whatever.
I honestly just came past it this week because I've been watching a lot of Roger Corman movies.
Oh, nice.
And I've been thinking about returning to it and checking it out.
Is it available anywhere, or is it like a?
His produced movies are like kind of all over the place on those free streaming apps where it's commercials. Where Hanto, you made a joke about this last night where you're like, I was gonna watch something on Tubi, and you're like, we'll have fun watching a 3-hour movie because all the commercial breaks.
Yeah,
and it's true. It's a workout, like when you watch movies on those free apps.
Yeah, I don't know how we used to do it back in the day, watching movies like on television and like
spoiled.
I know.
In all honesty, when they were on television, they were edited as well, though.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But like,
so I remember like
a lot though, you know,
it was enough that I remember at the beginning of a lot of movies, it would be like the following movie is edited for running time, blah blah blah. Okay. So it'd fit within that exact 2 hour.
2 hour. Okay, yeah.
Okay. I read something though. It's a psych theory that movies on television are actually more entertaining because of commercial breaks. Because they break up the movie so much that you'll sit through the commercials to see what happens in the movie next. And for some reason, it kind of gets you through it. That sounds like
that sounds like a trick by the cable provider or the TV, companies to make you watch commercials to buy their shit. That sounds like a trick.
It does.
It sounds exciting. I guess I'll watch these commercials.
Yeah, those HBO channels are overrated. Yeah. Watch all your movies on TBS.
It's like the radio, like trying to get you to listen to the radio instead of Spotify or like Sirius or something, It's
okay, but honestly, saying that, like back in the day when you did listen to the radio, didn't you, like when you were really into it, but didn't you like kind of wait to see what the next song was going to be after a commercial break?
Oh yeah, there's no other option. Yeah. That was is either that or you listen to the same cassette or CD over and over again,
Yeah, but it's kind of exciting to be like, okay, what are they going to play next? And then there's like a 2-minute commercial break, and you're like, all right, I got to wait. What are they going to play next? We're like
tuning in on TRL and seeing what the next on the list is.
Yeah, even though it was like the same number one for like 3 months, it was always in sync.
Joel Schumacher's video for In Excess coming up next.
Yeah, I'm dude. Don't even start on TRL. Keep going.
I got Corey Haim as Sam, best known probably for Lucas. I think that was like one of his first movies, and then pops up in Batman and Robin again under Schumacher, and then probably best known for his collaboration with Corey Feldman as the two Coreys, and one of the other movies is License to Drive. I got Diane Wiest as Lucy, aka Mom. Previous episode, Edward Scissorhands. She pops up in Footloose, Parenthood, and I just saw her. Probably the most recent movie I saw her in was the Clint Eastwood movie, The Mule. I don't know if you guys saw that movie at all.
Oh no, I didn't.
It was very terrible.
Really?
Big stinker. Yeah, I saw that
the
movie.
Concept, I was so interested
in. It is. The editing and the story is all over the place, and it's not good. Which is disappointing because I think Gran Torino is pretty awesome by him, and I think this was like almost like a follow-up. Or no, I think American Sniper probably came before Mule. Yeah, it's just not good. Not really that good at all.
I just watched her I think
I
saw a month ago.
Yeah,
that I Care a Lot movie.
Was she good in it, or I know you didn't like the movie? But...
she was good. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the movie, but I mean, she was fine in it. She was like the main lady that who's the girl from Die Another Day that stars in it.
She's in Gone Girl.
Gone Girl, yeah. I can't think of her name. But
Rosamund Pike.
Yeah, okay. Diane Wiest is the one that she's trying to take advantage of.
Like the elderly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah,
that sounds like a cool plot. It sounded like a cool plot. I heard mixed things about that movie.
I heard mixed things too.
It goes bonkers. It goes too much for me. It starts off really good though. Yeah.
Got Bernard Hughes as Grandpa. He pops up in the original Tron, Sister Act 2, and Doc Hollywood. Then we got Edward Hermann.
He isn't Doc Hollywood. I know we just talked about this last night.
Yeah, we were talking about Doc Hollywood, or actually Michael J. Fox's filmography last night. Yeah, and
he is. Remember the scene in Doc Hollywood when Michael J. Fox is about to perform surgery on this little boy because he's got a stomach ache?
Yeah.
And he shows up. And all he does is give him a Coke. And he was like, yeah, the boy's got some gas. You were about to cut into a boy. And he's like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I do vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's who that is.
Sounds familiar. Yeah. Is he like the town's other doctor?
He's like the one who's retiring in Doc Hollywood. I don't know why I know much about Doc Hollywood. But he's
you were talking about it a lot last
Oh, man. Don't get me started. No, yeah, Doc Hollywood comes in because that doctor's retiring, I think.
Well, his car breaks down in the beginning, so he's kind of stuck in this town until the car gets.
Is that what it is?
I thought that was the plot of the movie, and then he kind of everyone doesn't like him because he's a big city guy, big city person, doesn't belong in this town. And then he gains the love and affection of everybody in the town,
except for Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson's in this movie.
Do you remember that Woody Harrelson is dating the girl he falls in love with? It's the girl from Tommy Boy.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Woody Harrelson, That's it.
Dude, I haven't seen this movie since the 90s.
I haven't seen this movie probably since like the 90s. So
yeah.
I remember certain parts of it, but like not enough. I just know that his car breaks down and then he's like stuck.
That Coke thing is super familiar though.
Yeah, it sounds very familiar.
It's one of those ones. I know we talked about it when like I probably watched that movie a million times when I was 12 years old. And it was just one of those movies you watched and you probably didn't get half the jokes, but it was always on HBO.
Yeah, it's like nothing else to watch. It was kind of like me with Chevy Chase's Funny Farm. It was just always on like TNT. I don't remember anything about it, but it was just like I just watched because there was nothing else to watch.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I was on a lot.
Nothing But Trouble was like that for me. The movie was always on.
Yes, probably. That sounds like a TBS joint if I've ever heard a movie.
Yeah.
Dude,
we should okay. Future episode for sure.
Doc Hollywood.
No, Nothing But Trouble. But like I got to go back just a couple steps. I'm surprised we haven't done a Corey's movie yet on this show.
Yeah,
how has that not happened?
There's quite a few on that list too.
Yeah.
So
I think the biggest one would probably be License to Drive.
There's like I think it's like License to Drive and Dream a Little Dream. I think are the two. I feel like
never saw that one.
Yeah, it was like another one. Continuing on, we got Edward Hermann as Max. Pops up in Overboard. I think he's Goldie Hawn's husband.
Yeah,
like the rich snob or whatever.
Yeah,
and then he plays another rich snob in Richie Rich as the dad. And then he pops up in several seasons of Gilmore Girls, and he's in your favorite movie, Chris. Welcome to Mooseport.
Oh man,
which we talked about heavily. I think in a recent episode, we're talking about Welcome to Mooseport for some reason, but you just kept bringing it up.
I don't know why I was bringing it up, but I thought you were going to say he. I think the last thing I watched him was Intolerable Cruelty.
Yeah,
he's funny in that. Yeah,
I've never seen it. I heard it was a lesser.
It is
Coen Brothers,
but it's still good. Yeah, I think it's just one of them too.
Oh, is it? Okay, that makes sense.
You sure it's just one of them? I thought it was both of them. Never mind.
I think it's just one.
Because they only get like for the longest time they only get billed. They did that thing where like one of them would get billed as a director, and then next movie the other one would do it.
It says directed by Coen Brothers.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
So, we got Kiefer Sutherland as David. Stand By Me. Some other Schumacher joints: Flatliners, A Time to Kill, Phone Booth. And he pops up in 9 seasons and 1 movie of 24, which is a lot of 24.
Yeah,
I think I dropped off at like season 7. I think of 24. I was like a pretty diehard fan of that show.
Dude, it's like a month of 24. You know, because they're all days. So it's like so much. It's like a month.
I mean, yeah, I guess
like a month of days.
Oh, okay.
I'm sick. I don't feel good.
Abandon ship. Corey Feldman.
24. They should have called it 7 seasons in a movie.
Oh,
but I'm just trying to play off Matt. Matt said something
Chris,
bad.
You're making me look stupid.
me and Matt wrote that one before we started the podcast. We were hoping he would like it. So keep going, Hanto.
Corey Feldman as Edgar Frog, Stand By Me. Previous episode, Gremlins, pops up in Goonies, and then 2 Friday the 13th movies, Final Chapter and New Beginning. Then we got Jamison Newlander as Alan Frog, previously unreleased episode, The Blob, and then he pops up in the 2 Lost Boys sequels, and then his most recent one was Bone Tomahawk. What were you gonna say?
Okay,
Matt, were you gonna say something?
No.
Okay. You got something to say? You want to say something?
Any questions? Any questions? Jamie Gertz as Star, Twister, Crossroads, Less Than Zero, and Quicksilver. And then Alex Winters as I can't remember what his name is in this movie. I forgot to write it down. Marco.
You killed Marco.
Bill and Ted's Trilogy, Freaked. And then I saw him in a kind of like I feel like he kind of flew under the radar Grand Piano starring Elijah Wood.
John Cusack one?
Yeah. Where it's like kind of like it's basically Phone Booth, but in like an orchestra hall or whatever where he's playing piano. I thought it was pretty decent. But yeah, he pops up in that and it's pretty good. And then he most recently directed a documentary about Frank Zappa. I keep seeing the poster everywhere for this documentary, but
yeah,
I don't know anything about Frank Zappa, so I don't like not inclined to like check it out.
Sure.
All I know is that there's people out there that really, really love Frank Zappa.
Yeah. There's a huge.
That's all I know. There's like a huge fan base for Frank Zappa.
Never got into it. Don't even know any. I couldn't even name a song from Frank Zappa. But
okay,
this documentary.
But speaking of him, though, not Zappa, but Winter. I remember he directed a really good Napster documentary a few years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was worth watching.
I recall that.
I think it was like made for VH1 or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, so it sounds like he's into documentaries now.
Yeah. I'm trying to look.
Yeah, and honestly, it sounds like I read an interview with him and Keanu Reeves when they were coming out with Bill and Ted last summer, and it sounds like he's starting to like get more into the film world again and doing like awesome. More things. So
yeah, he's got a lot of documentary and shorts in his filmography.
Yeah. Does he? Okay.
Yeah.
And coming to CinemaCult sometime in the future, we got to watch Freaked.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know. Once again, I don't know how that one has passed over the radar. Like
I think it was hard to find. I think I don't think it's streaming anywhere.
It's not on Blu-ray
or DVD.
Yeah,
I thought you had you had the DVD, Chris.
I did. I don't have it anymore. But
shit.
You can find the DVD now, and it's like $35 or something like that. So,
yeah. But yeah, it's one of those ones that has not premiered on Blu-ray yet.
Yeah,
but
I think it just recently got a vinyl soundtrack release through, I think Mondo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are you good with the cast and crew?
That's all I have for cast and crew.
Can we talk about? So, I tried to find a little bit of trivia on this. I found it by accident, so I read a few things. So, Matt, if I steal anything from you, I apologize.
Honestly, there's a lot of stuff that I've read over the years about this movie. So like, go for it. You might be saying the same stuff I was gonna say. So, yeah.
Okay, I should make sure. Okay, that the cinematographer for this movie, was Scorsese's cinematographer,
Michael Chapman,
and I guess he gave up doing cinematography, wanted to direct movies. And then this is like his return back to cinematography.
I made a comment that this movie looks great. And I looked up into the cinematographer's filmography: Taxi Driver, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Kindergarten Cop, and one Doc Hollywood.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious right now? That's awesome. What are the odds? But yeah, and I guess he did Fugitive, which I think was cool. Okay. And then but yeah, he had a really good career.
Yeah, Michael Chapman's awesome, and like there's a lot of like really heavy hitters behind this movie that I feel like that elevate it above like your normal 80s horror film. Yeah. And it's like the Thomas Newman soundtrack is really good in this movie.
I'm actually just looking this up right now. That's insane that I never knew that.
Yeah, I mean, and Joel Schumacher being behind it. Yeah, because like this is Joel Schumacher's only horror movie up to this point.
Yeah,
and like I want to say right before he did this, he did Flatliners is like 1990.
Yeah, 90. Right? I think it's 90.
But before this, he did St. Elmo's Fire, and like I think because he did a teenager movie beforehand, or he worked with a lot of these like up and coming Brat Pack hot stars, young stars, that he was able to make this movie better than it could have been if it was directed by like any, put in slasher film director's name here,
Yeah.
He actually, good.
No, I'm just saying there's a lot of talent behind the camera on this movie that really kind of elevates it. But go ahead, Chris.
Just because you said it, and I'll forget. But since he did St. Elmo's Fire and worked with Rob Lowe, have you ever noticed the Rob Lowe poster in the background in this movie?
Yes, for some reason didn't connect those two at all.
Right? Yeah. I think like Corey Haim has it in his bedroom or something like that.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and dive into this movie because I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. So Lost Boys, 1987. So we have this family. We have two boys and a mother, and they are moving to
Santa Carla, the murder capital of the world.
From the movie Us.
Oh.
And
I think they're filming a movie over there.
So they go there. I love this intro because it's a Doors cover.
Yeah.
And it pretty much sets up.
Is it Echo and the Bunnymen? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do a good cover of it. Yeah. And it's basically setting up where this whole movie is going to take place. It's People Are Strange is playing. And it is. It's just all these odd characters. It's just a really good introduction to this movie.
Yeah.
So the family arrives at the mother's father's house. And before I go any further, is there any mention of the father at all? I don't think there is.
I thought there was.
He's alive.
Yeah, I thought it was briefly mentioned.
Yeah.
Maybe at the beginning.
Okay, I don't remember.
She says something like She says something like to the like
Max
with like your father. Like your father would whatever. Yeah. But like he's still alive. I think they're just kind of.
Yeah, I think it's just a recently divorced situation.
Yeah, recently
divorced. Explain it. Yeah.
So the basic, I mean, we'll go through the scenes, but the whole premise of this movie is we have scenes at the house of the grandpa, which are very quirky because, I mean, he's like this quirky guy.
Yeah.
And then like Corey Haim goes out to like comic book stores and Patric goes out to chase girls. And that's pretty much I mean,
it's a total like, two brothers. One's more interested in chasing the girls and going to concerts, and one is the geeky brother and then goes into the comic book and probably like goes to the arcades, that kind of deal.
Sure. But like Corey Haim goes to the comic book store and apparently he's really in the comic books. And
this whole scene where the introduction.
Well, to say Corey Feldman works with his brother at the comic book store.
Yeah.
And Corey Haim goes, I'm looking for a Batman number 5. Is that what he says?
That's a serious issue.
Yeah, a serious issue.
Now, do you know anything? Do you know anything about this issue? Is this
no? This is total just kind of like, but ironic that they talk about Batman and Joel Schumacher goes off and directs Batman.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Good point.
This is kind of a weird.
Some say that this movie got him Batman just from that one reference.
Off topic, but kind of still on the same one. Like Chris Nolan. Yeah, I think it's like Memento, The Following, and there might be one more before he does Batman Begins, where they all have a Batman reference in there. Like there's a Batman.
Is it Memento where Guy Pearce is at the comic book store and
that's a serious issue.
And Joe Pantoliano is like, a serious issue.
We got a stogie.
No, but there's like
serious issue.
There's visible Batman signals in the background in certain shots.
Okay.
So it's just kind of ironic that that's kind of a thing that happens.
Maybe that's what you have to do as a filmmaker in order to get a certain property.
Yes.
You have to just kind of subtly, do some imagery that like kind of
just a Batman symbol in the background.
Yeah.
Or if we talk about a property, then that'll get us the thing. So why don't we bring up right now? Doc Hollywood. And now we're going to continue on with Doc Hollywood.
We're going to get our first live episode booked in a small town where it's kind of like Doc Hollywood. We're just going to get the love and affection of the townspeople because they love our podcast.
I like that. So Corey Haim makes friends with these two guys. Well, he doesn't really make friends with them right away. He's kind of off-put by them because they're trying to give him horror comic books. And he's like, hey, I told you, I don't like horror. And so they kind of have this like not really kicking off at first, but later on when Corey Haim believes that there's vampires, they kind of form this group. But meanwhile, I do want to bring this up. So is it Dianne Wiest? Is that how you pronounce it?
Dianne Wiest is how I've always known it.
She's trying to find a job in town, and she goes to this video store, which is ran by Max, who ends up, spoiler, being the head vampire. But he tries to like swoon her, and in the background during all this is the girl from summer school. We've talked about this before.
I think we talked about this on the was it a Nightmare on Elm Street episode?
Yeah. Hato, you want to look up her name since you're right there in front of your computer?
I'm always
because she's in Nightmare, and she's in summer school.
Kelly Jo.
She's in previous episode, People Under the Stairs. That's where it popped up.
Yeah, that's where it popped up. Yep.
But yeah, she's in this movie and she's like in the background for a few seconds. I guess she had a bigger role. Didn't we talk about that?
Yeah, and it's weird because there actually is a part where I think she's on the phone with maybe Sam, I think, and you can hear or you can see this actress basically in the background, like listening on the conversation as if like she was going to chime in after the phone call ended, but just like I think it just hard cuts like the next scene or something.
Yeah, it's odd because it looks like she is part of like the interaction, and then there's like nothing.
And I think there's a part in the beginning, isn't she like she greets her like at the video store. She's like, bye, so and so.
Yeah, does she?
Like, there's a part where Dianne Wiest like basically says goodbye. It's when there's like a lost child, and she like takes the lost child, She's like,
she gets a lollipop.
Somebody, yeah. And it's just like, it's kind of weird.
That is odd. Okay. But I guess we can cut to like the night scene when Jason Patric meets Star for the first time, because I want to live on this beach. This beach is awesome. And everybody's out, having a good time. And we got our man with the saxophone, which I feel like is so damn iconic.
We saw this guy at Whorehound a couple years ago. And dude, he was super
we did.
Like, he was super cool, like talking about his experience with the film. And
he was a fun guy.
Really, yeah.
And I know we always talk about this, but it's cool when you see people that are grateful for like what they have or what they had or whatever.
It was this guy, and then the guy who does the main title for Cry Little Sister, Gerard McMahon. Okay. They both talked about like their how they got like basically work on the movie. It was just like an awesome just interview at the convention.
Well, like, and that's I tell you what, like with this movie, it seems like it's pretty much loved by the people who were a part of it, because like Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Patric have been on like a steady convention tour together because they're friends.
Yeah.
But they've been like touring and talking about this movie and signing stuff for this movie, and so they seem like they really dig it too.
Yeah.
I just listened to them on that Michael Rosenbaum podcast.
Yeah, you mentioned this, I think, on the
Deep Inside of You, or Inside of You.
Okay.
I think it's called just Inside of You, not Deep Inside of You.
Is that the song by what's his name?
Blind?
From Get Him to the Greek, the Inside of You.
It's Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah,
yeah. But it's the same character, right?
It's the same character. Tim Capello is Tim Capello is the name of the saxophone player in this movie. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, speaking of music, I feel like we're all over the place. I didn't even like talk about the very beginning with the opening credits.
Dude, this opening credits is awesome. This is like one of my favorite opening credit sequences. Just the way the music kind of opens up and you get the shot of flying over the ocean, and like the timing of the editing is on point when it like cuts to when it does like the main music for Cry Little Sister and you got the Lost Boys title like popping up. It's like pretty awesome.
It is. Yeah. But back to where we're at in the movie, they're going to like this big, I think I'm just assuming, at least in the 80s, it was just like this big carnival / festival thing that took place on beaches. I'm sure it still does because it's such a hot spot. But this is when Jason Patric meets Star for the first time. I love their chemistry, by the way. I feel like, I believe like they work well together.
Mm-hmm.
But he's totally drawn to her from the get-go. And we find out that I guess David, Kiefer Sutherland, and Star are a couple. Is that what it is?
They never really like say it outright, but I have a feeling that they are prior to Michael showing up. So I assume that's
and there's kind of a lore as far as like how old all the vampires are, like where they came from.
Okay.
Because like at one point he asked Star, he's like
parents or whatever.
Yes, he's like, you had hippie parents too, and she kind of gives him a look like
he's like, I was almost named Moonchild, and they decided Michael instead.
But almost like she gives him like a look that's like, actually, I am a hippie. You know what I mean? Like I was from the 60s. You know what I mean? Like that's what I always kind of took out of it. That she's a vampire that got bit in the 60s, and that she is like. So like that's like, it's kind of insinuating with that look she gives him.
Okay. Sure.
But like I can't remember like.
And then the laddie is like from the Civil War era because he's wearing that jacket, like a
dude, and that's why it's confusing because Laddie's not. Laddie's got his face is on the milk carton, so he just got bit. Yeah,
they've been looking for him since they've been looking for him since the Civil War. So
it's an old
old-timey photo, basically.
Matthew Brady photo, like from the Civil War.
You're probably getting your Civil War mixed up with Near Dark.
Oh yeah.
That whole we fought for the South and we lost.
Oh yeah, there is that mention. Nice.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like as far as the rest of the vampires go, because
it's tough because I just figured that they're like just 80s punks, like they're just maybe just recent vampires that are just
I think it's fun to play the game of like, hey, how old are these guys? Like, are there any hints in there? I've watched this movie several times, and several times I'm trying to find like hints in there. I'm like, are they from a certain decade that we don't know, but like that's not exactly told to us, or is it kind of hidden in their costume a little bit?
Yeah.
You know?
So most of the movie, for the most part, and I'm not saying it's slow whatsoever, but it's just kind of like Jason Patric runs into the gang and they just kind of laugh at him.
He gets initiated pretty fast, I feel like.
You think so?
I feel like it kind of cruises by, like, because he gets introduced to them right here at the concert or whatever. And then David's like, like, you can hang if you can keep up, Michael. And then they do like that chase, whatever. And then
it's pretty quick.
Go to the cave, and then he's already drinking the blood.
Yeah,
that happens pretty fast.
It does. I take it back what I said, and I wasn't saying like it was slow, but like, I would say nothing happens with like the vampires, like until like the last like third. But then again, but it's still good. But
I don't think you actually don't really see what they look like until they kill the cast. What I looking up in the cast, but like the surf Nazis on the bonfire. You don't really see what they look like because it's him. It's them in the shadows, silhouetted. On the hill, whatever, and then it does like that close up. You see what Kiefer Sutherland looks like as a vampire, and you're like, oh shit!
It's pretty terrifying.
That scene is. I would say that scene is pretty iconic as far as 80s horror scenes go.
I remember it scared the shit out of me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And then like they did this really cool thing, and this was a budgetary reason why they did it. But anytime the vampires attack from above, it's always POV. So it's like a camera coming down on somebody and then picking them up.
Which I think is very effective.
Really effective.
Yeah, I didn't say it's very.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so we don't see the vampires till, like you're saying, like
it's cool.
The last third of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was gonna make a joke that wasn't even worth bringing up. It wasn't good. So yeah,
cool. Dude.
Ship.
I know they cut a good chunk of the scene where Michael sees them eat for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I watched this with Matt, but they told Kiefer Sutherland like, "Hey, when you're biting into this guy's skull, pretend like it's cake." And so like, and I think even Kiefer Sutherland said like it fell apart like cake while he was eating the guy's skull.
Oh,
but they cut off like a good like 10, 15 seconds.
And I made a note.
I couldn't remember what it was, but yeah, it was like he was like legit eating into his skull, his brains and everything. And you see like a quick snap where it's like his fangs go down on the back of the guy's head and it sprays.
Yeah.
And I think it's supposed to be that. And
I made I made a note about that scene. Not that we're jumping a little bit ahead, but I made a note about that scene saying like this is way more effective with the short cuts or the quick cuts and like unseen kills basically than your typical like let's show everything on camera and show for a slow period of time, because the scene is very quick, it's very bloody, and a lot of it's left up to imagination to figure out what is happening to these people as they're getting eaten.
Yeah, like there's really cool shots, and there's one shot where like once again it's like a POV camera, and he's picked up one of the victims, and they're kind of like flying over, so it's kind of like, but it's real brief. Like you're able to kind of take little like ideas out of what you see really quickly, and it's it's very effective.
And it's actually they do it so well when you think one of the vampires is going to attack Max.
Yeah.
And you think you think he's attacking Max, which is really cool throw off.
Yeah.
By using this POV and him being like, oh man, Max is gonna get it. I mean, you find out like because it totally throws off his character. So like, all right, it's Max.
I can't remember if that's before or after the scene where they do the vampire test on him. So it's just like, okay, he's out because like he failed every test, and then it cuts to that scene maybe. But yeah, just it's a good like kind of like making sure that you're not focusing on Max as the main vampire.
Well, what's cool about that is that you're not looking for a twist in this movie. So they've thrown this slight like, oh, he might be a vampire. Nah, he's not. Everything's fine.
He's just
because you just assume Kiefer Sutherland's the head vampire. Mm-hmm. So you're not expecting any twist, which is really cool. When it does, when the twist does happen, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, and it's cool, like too, when they're in the video store and they come in the beginning, and he tells them to get out, and he's like, "What'd I tell you about being in here?" And like all four of them just kind of look at him like, "All right, walk out." And he's just like teenagers. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like it's totally
you're
like
gonna blow my cover, dudes. Get out!
Get out!
Wait, what's he talking about?
No!
Diane
Teenagers.
Wiest is like, I don't think I want to date this guy.
Go out with me, please. So okay, to go back to so we got this whole thing.
They go to the cave.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, at this point, Michael's turned. We had like the whole maggots scene, and we have the wine, which
worms.
is blood.
They're worms.
And then that's when we have the whole killing. We find out what Michael's turning into. Yeah. And then Michael turning into a vampire kind of brings him closer to Corey Haim. Not that they don't seem like they're like tight brothers, because like their jokes in the beginning are good. But I feel like after Corey Haim stops freaking out about Jason Patric being a vampire, which is hysterical, by the way.
Oh, that whole scene's really funny.
Yeah.
Dude, when he's floating up at the window and he's like, let me in. He's like, Mom! He's trying to kill me, Mom, help. Mom!
The part where he's like, your reflection, Michael, and then they like do like they show like how he's like transparent, you know?
Yeah.
He's like running up the stairs. He's like, I'm gonna tell Bobby you're a vampire.
My own brother, a blood-sucking vampire.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
But yeah, this whole scene is great. And then it's cool because I think it does bring them closer. Like Corey Haim seems like, hey, I'm going to help you. We'll figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then this is when Corey Haim's relationship with the Frog Brothers becomes a little more cemented, because Corey Haim kind of puts together, okay, I know why you're pushing this horror stuff on me.
Yeah.
Help me. And so then we do have, like we talked about, like the test with Max.
Yeah.
So I don't even think, how does Corey Haim think Max is the head vampire? What is the reason he goes, all right, why does he invite the Frog Brothers over to test Max in the first place?
Geez, OP. I've seen this movie so many times.
I know, right?
For some reason, I remember it's real brief.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, because it's like he just assumes that like, who's the person that's been around the family, and he's like, Max, he's been trying to date my mom and everything like that.
I think it's just a test, maybe I don't know if it's just they're just maybe testing to see the theory that maybe he's the head vampire. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
No, you're good. But this whole scene is great because you have these little things that you don't think about that work really well, like with like the throwing you off, where Max is like, he's talking to Corey Haim. He's like, well, you're the man of the house. He's like, I'm not going to come in unless you invite me. Or he says to Jason Patric.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you think he's just being respectful, and in all reality, he's gaining access.
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah. And then you got the whole like testing with the garlic while they're eating dinner, and then turn off the lights, and the mirror in front of his face is So just a really fun scene. And like I said, it's a good red herring to like, you don't even think at this point like Max has anything to do with this. You're like, all right, you're just kids who are just they're barking up the wrong tree.
And it's a good playoff for them to be at the end where he's like, you invited me into the house, like none of this stuff
he's like,
works.
all your powers are, your all your tests are rendered useless when you invite a vampire in your house,
which is really cool, kind of like,
and then
throwaway. And
then Sam is like Corey Haim to Corey Feldman is basically, he's like, did you know that? He's like, of course I did.
Right. Not to jump, and if there's any scenes you would like to talk about through here, now that they're kind of figuring out where the vampires are at, the Frog Brothers go to the cave to take one of them, or they don't go to the cave to take one of them out. They go to
kill.
I don't think I'm jumping over anything, correct?
Yeah, because what I want to talk about for a second though,
opening credits.
End of the movie.
Credits. How obsessed I was with I really wanted these vampire comics when I was a kid.
Oh yeah,
all vampires must die. And vampires everywhere. I think
are these now? Was there anything in the trivia? Are these like real comics, or are they made specifically for the movie? Or
they're made specifically for the movie. I remember going to Horror Hound and somebody had reproduced them. So they reproduced like the usable pages.
Yeah, the ones that show like on screen and stuff.
Yeah. But I would have been the opposite back when I was a kid. I would have been like the guy who's like going into the store and been like, "Hey, do you got any Tales from the Crypt or any horror comics?" Instead of being the guy.
Check out this Batman.
Yeah, Batman
issue number 4.
But I just think they're really cool comics. I wanted to talk about them for a second. It's just like really cool. I mean,
I like
cool way to mix lore into it as well too. To be like. Usually, like you see in like movies, of like we'll go to the library and they bring out this giant like manuscript of a book, and it's like here's how to defeat a vampire, and instead they use a comic book instead.
And I think it's cool, like how it like kind of grounds this movie. It's like it's an R-rated movie, but it's almost like a kid, like a movie for kids or teenagers, because it like grounds. It's like, where would a kid go to do their research? Oh, the local comic book store. You know, it's to kind of do that kind of like that little stuff, instead of going to like a library, like you said, like Indiana Jones doing like all the archaeological research and stuff. They're doing like kind of like kids stuff, which is awesome, because at the end, like, when they're fighting the vampires, they're using like squirt guns, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, they're not using like
very practical.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris, you seem like you want to say this trivia now.
Yeah. So, okay. In Doc Hollywood, when, so this movie was originally supposed to be G. Okay. Rated G.
No way. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And Richard Donner was going to do it.
Okay.
Following Goonies. And he left to go work on Lethal Weapon.
Okay.
So then they brought in Mary Lambert, who did Pet Sematary.
Okay.
And she left as well. And then at some point they decided to make this an R movie. But yeah, this was totally, they were trying to do like a Vampires meets Goonies.
Yeah.
And I still think that still lives in the script. I still feel like it is got a Goonies.
I think it does
for sure.
It's strange too, because like how like, okay, so the movie that comes out before this is Stand By Me, I think in 86, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
And like how young Corey Feldman looks in 86 to what he looks like in Lost Boys in 87.
I was gonna
like,
say even just the
how,
Goonies, like he looks super young in Goonies.
And Goonies is 85.
I think it's 85.
Yeah, 85. Yeah. And it's like they're like kids in that, and then by the time we get to Lost Boys, they're like teenagers. I know that makes sense, like because that's how old they get, but they look like years older between Goonies.
Absolutely.
Or between Stand By Me and Lost Boys. Mm-hmm. But originally this movie was conceptualized as a Peter Pan kind of spinoff. And that's where the idea of the Lost Boys comes from. And that it's the idea that Peter Pan flies through your window at night and he's forever young.
Yeah.
And like, and they're just kind of playing to that. And then another one, like there's, I want to say like the references kind of diminished as versions of the screenplay kept getting rewritten, and the kids got older. They went from being children to being teenagers. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then what Chris was saying, it went from a G to an R. Yeah. And that was all Joel Schumacher. Joel Schumacher was the one who came in and said, we're going to make this an R-rated teenager movie, and we're going to make it sexy. And that was like his push.
I wonder if that's how they pushed it. They're like, yeah, Peter Pan flying through windows, but hear me out. Jason Patric flying through windows. And you're like, who? And you're like, you'll see. And then that's how you got the gig.
Best known for the Beast.
Yeah.
You've seen
Best known for Speed 2.
You'll see
it in a few years.
You'll see. Yeah, I still think it holds. And I think that's why this movie works. It's just that they were aiming for the hard R. It might not have that Goonies feel quality to it, because it does. And I think that's why we like it so much as a kid, is because it feels like an R-rated Goonies meets vampires.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they started off with that and then amped it up, or whatever you want to call it. But back to the movie itself. If I am jumping over anything at this point, I'm going to cut to the cave scene. That's okay.
Yeah, let's do the cave scene. Yeah.
So the Frog Brothers take Jason Patric, Corey Haim, and they go to the cave. Jason Patric goes to get Star and rescue her from the cave. And this scene used to terrify me as a kid, because this scene is awesome. But they find out where the vampires sleep, and it's cool the way they realize it, because they don't realize they're right above them. And then they're just kind of hanging upside down. They're kind of swinging back and forth. Like, it's a very effective looking scene. It's terrifying.
I remember when I first heard about this movie, my sister actually had seen it before me, and this was like probably 90s maybe. And I remember her telling me about this scene, how like, yeah, the vampires are like hanging upside down, and just like the imagination of that as a kid was just so like, wow, like there's a movie where like there's vampires like hanging, you know, just like I couldn't wait to see it. When I finally did, you know, it was like, this movie's awesome.
I think what's great about this movie too is like it's one of the few vampire movies that gets the idea of being a vampire right, where it's like, here's the fun side of it. It's not like dreadful, and it's fun to live forever and to be young at this age forever.
Party all night, sleep all day, party all night.
Yeah, and it's fun to be a vampire.
Yeah.
But like it also and going back to the scene, it gets the horror side like as well, where it's like them hanging upside down, one giant, and that's what that cave is one giant coffin.
Yeah, one giant coffin.
But like it gets that horror side like really the horror aspect of it gets it right so well. I mean, I don't know how I'm saying this. This sounds not like good words. But it's really scary. And when we were watching this as a kid, it was kind of terrifying.
It was effective. Oh yeah, for sure. And well, I'll get to it in a second, but I'll just cut to it now. Nope. Oh, hold on. So they're in this giant cave. They decide to take out one of the vampires, which is Alex Winter's character. Yeah. And he like oozes out. It goes all over him.
Yeah.
It's such an intense scene. It holds up really well.
And Kiefer wakes up. He's like, "Damn it!"
Yeah.
Damn.
He's like crying. But
he is crying.
He is. So they escape from the cave very narrowly through like this like something you like go splunking in or something like that. It's a very tight hole.
Yeah.
But as they get out to the sun, David gets hit by it and he produces a tear. Now, does he cry here and at the end?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. There's got to be something behind this crying thing. I don't know why it's taking me 30 years or is, but his character's like crying all the time.
I think the crying was, I mean, he got basically burned. I mean, I've cried when I've gotten burned, you know?
I don't think he cries. I don't think he cries because he gets burned. I think he cries because Alex Winter gets it.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, I think he totally cries because Alex Winter gets it.
Interesting.
I always thought it
that's what I always thought.
I always took it as the burning because it's like it hurt, and then at the end with the antlers, he got stabbed by him, so it hurt, and that's why he's crying.
Okay.
So there's a theme here where he gets hurt and he cries.
There's a theme where people get hurt and they don't like it.
It's painful.
It's painful.
You know, it's like when you stub your toe, you're like, ouch, 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 and then you're like,
and you think of David from Lost Boys.
Yeah.
And then
and you're crying like your little sister.
So they escape the cave. They hop in their car. They take off. They got Star and
Michael,
their little boy.
Oh, Laddie.
Laddie. So they go back to Grandpa's house and they pretty much like shack up. They put the vampires up in the good vampires up in the room so they can sleep and be away from everything else. Come night, this is when we have our like last like intense 20 minutes.
I love the montage of them like, we got 2 hours to what? Till sundown. And it's like playing that music for
whatever. But
oh, is that like was that that Christmas band that plays like the
Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
Yeah, was that you're doing just now?
Yeah. And then Corey Haim is like, he's like, this is my house. I have to protect it. And it's like
the lights are hitting David and he's like, oh, and he's just crying all the time.
Michael Jordan's on the train in the background.
Hey, this house looks packed.
Yeah, Macaulay Culkin's dancing with the strings and everything.
Should we attack tonight? There's a lot of people there.
It seems like they have a lot of vampire hunters.
They're rocking around the Christmas tree.
It's summertime.
David opens up the door and the flame hits his head. He's like, oh!
Crying.
So stupid.
That was a Home Alone reference for anybody that didn't get that.
Yeah,
but go ahead.
Didn't get all those Home Alone references. This soundtrack's great, and it's
awesome.
It is missing in action on vinyl.
Yeah, it really is. That's why I was surprised about the
score. Sorry, the score.
That's why I was surprised about the Thomas Newman because it's missing in action, and the soundtrack or the score is awesome, especially during this montage scene where they're collecting all their weapons.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah, I've been waiting for this one to hit for like several years now.
Yeah, that's a good score.
And this and Fright Night are the two vampire movies that don't have a vinyl release. They have the soundtrack, but they don't have the score. And the score for Fright Night's good as well.
Yeah, I've never listened to it.
Yeah,
but yeah, MIA.
But I love this part where they're like, you know, they go to the church and there's a baptism in progress, which is weird that there's like a baptism at like, I guess like 8 or it would be like 7 o'clock maybe.
I guess
2 hours, 2 hours to sundown in the summertime.
Yeah, I usually do my baptisms before lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have the whole rest of the day.
I do my baptisms after. Or sorry, it's I was doing Back to the Future 3. And he's like, I do my killing after breakfast. And he's like, I do my killing before breakfast. I do my baptisms before breakfast.
But yeah, they're like interrupting this baptism, and everyone just like looks back, and they just go back to their business, you know. And then it's the other frog, not Corey Feldman, but the other frog brother. He just gives like a fist, like yeah. And then they just
he totally does.
Like, leave the church and go. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's a very amped up scene. Everything is like,
it's kids getting ready to freaking fight vampires. It's like,
yeah.
Honestly, and it's really cool, like all the traps and like ways of fighting them that they're setting up, where it's like the super soaker is like legit, where it's like, what a really clever idea.
And then they do this in From Dusk Till Dawn, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
They do like the condom holy water balloons, and then soaker.
When you said traps, I thought you were going to bring up like, at one point they have some flamethrower. Well, and David has to take off his shoes, and then David steps on a nail, and then it's this whole like,
just fly.
Wait, what's that?
No, I'm just saying, like,
you just telling Kiefer just to fly to avoid the ornaments.
That's good. So they get into the house, and it is like everybody kind of spreads out.
Yeah.
This scene as a kid absolutely terrified me, because at one point I think I watched like just the scene, and it's when they go into the bathroom and they're filling up the super soakers with the holy water that's in the bathtub, and they fight one of the vampires. He gets thrown into the bathtub.
Who killed Marco?
Yeah, that is the guy.
Yeah, and Nook does it, right?
What's that?
The Nook, the dog, pushes him into the tub, and then everything's kind of chill. And the way the vampire pops out,
it's so gross.
It terrified me as a kid. Like, it really scared me. And then all of a sudden, like, blood's coming through all the drains.
Because it doesn't make any
sense, but it's awesome.
Because it does cut to him like half melted, like he's the dude from RoboCop, like the half melted man. And then it cuts to like, isn't it like a skeleton that pops up that has like,
for a brief second, it's a skeleton. Yeah.
And then like the whole kitchen erupts in this guy's blood and guts, and it's nasty.
Well, it's like it's still erupting. Right?
Throughout the movie, like throughout the fight scene, I think Jason Patric and Corey Haim are going up the stairs or down the stairs, and they look at the kitchen. It's just like a volcano of this guy's blood and guts still erupting to the sinks and pipes and stuff. And it's like, ooh.
It's raunchy, man. And I think the next, actually during this whole scene is when Laddie turns into a vampire.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the perspective took me a long time to figure out what was going on. I was like, is he busting through the bed? Is he underneath the floor? It's a very weird looking scene. Like, I remember it took me a couple of viewings to actually understand where he was at. But he busts through the bed, and there's like toilet paper flying around.
It's like what you would see in a haunted house when it's like, woo!
It is. Which that is a cool scene. And actually they go to kill Laddie, but Star protects him. And then meanwhile, you got Jason Patric downstairs, who kind of has like a flying war with this one vampire, which this, by the way, awesomely lit scene with the red. And then you get the yellow from like the lamps shining on the wall.
Yeah.
Very well lit.
Well, no, doesn't. Jason Patric doesn't fight this vampire.
He just gets knocked out by the vampire, I think, and then.
Oh man, I'm getting these totally mixed up.
So you're mixing that with the David fight.
Yeah.
And then Corey Haim basically is strong, or Corey Haim flies with the vampire and then like manages to get out, and then he uses the bow.
Death by stereo.
Like, you miss, sucker. He's like, just one time.
Which is an awesome scene. So like, I mean, how many vampire deaths are in this? It's just only 3 in this scene, right?
Yeah,
just the 3, and then Max is like the last, so before.
Oh yeah. So he hasn't even fought David yet, correct?
No, because they kill the other punk vampire, and then when Michael wakes up, and then Kiefer Sutherland shows up. He's like,
okay, I was getting confused on whether Max showed up first, but yeah. So he fights David. They have their flying war up in like the ceiling, which still looks really good.
Yeah.
And he ends up getting thrown onto these like no, he doesn't get thrown on the antlers. I apologize.
Like, Kiefer Sutherland's pushing him into the antlers, and he's like using his like forearm grips on the top of the frame. And And then I don't know why they're doing like a jet propulsion. Like, I don't know why he's like Kiefer Sutherland's still pushing, like
yeah.
And then he tricks him by like flipping him backwards onto the antlers.
So real quick anecdote trivia about this scene. I'm pretty sure it's this scene because they're both in the makeup. This is like the one time they're both Michael and David are both in vampire makeup. But like I said earlier, they were both like really good friends while making this movie. Like they became really good friends. And one day they got sick of eating the craft service line of food. And it was the day they were filming this scene. So they're like, hey, let's go out and go get something to eat. And after wearing that makeup for so many hours during the day, they didn't realize it was on. So they went out in their car in the middle of the day and they pulled up next to all these like really young girls. And both of them like looked over and kind of like, trying to make eye contact with them and saying like, what's up? And the girls just like looked at him like freaked out and drove off. That's awesome. Because they didn't realize they were wearing the full on vampire makeup when they left the lot to go out in the public. And I was like, that was it. And it was just kind of like a really cool, like.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I just imagine
Chris, you look like you're processing it.
Yeah.
I just feel like, how could you like
realize?
Yeah. Well,
like,
you wear it for so long.
Well, it's because
but you're looking at that person
and
they're like a full-on vampire. And you're like, oh yeah.
They just assumed they just method acted into the role, like they just became vampires. They couldn't even see the reflections.
If you're wearing that stuff for like, if you were wearing a hat and you were supposed to wear this hat for hours on end, you would probably forget you were wearing that hat.
Okay, you would, but if I saw you wearing the hat, Matt, if you were wearing like a 10-gallon like cowboy hat
like
for a scene in a movie,
Kurt Russell hat sombrero.
I don't even know what that is.
From The Thing, he's wearing a sombrero for majority of the movie.
Well, imagine wearing that and it's like 20 times as big.
Or Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, right. And you forget you're wearing it. I'm seeing you wear it. I'm not going to forget you have it on. I'm like, Matt, take off that giant.
But Matt, it's a little silly for public. You might want to take the hat off.
If you've been looking at me for like a whole day of work wearing this makeup, you wouldn't even pick up on it. You'd probably be like, I think I've seen you like this all day that it becomes normal. And then you're like,
about that.
True story.
Do the test. We put the prosthetics on and then just hang out for a few hours and go out and grab lunch somewhere and see if we remember that we're wearing the
future episode. Do you remember back in the day when I would tell Matt trivia stuff and he'd be like, I don't know about that. And then we had Matt's like, I don't know about that corner where he'd always like everything I'd say is like, I don't think so.
I don't know about that.
We still do that. Yeah, but I've actually got you guys turned now that this was a legit story that Kiefer Sutherland told. Like, I remember I watched this. Wasn't like trivia that I read. This was something that I heard him in an interview.
Told you this personally, and
yes, and I was like, I didn't know what to say to it. I wasn't. I
was just so enamored by the presence of Kiefer. I had no words.
Yeah, it was on the phone. He's like, after he told the story, he's like, you got the wrong number, and Kiefer's like, oh, sorry.
Damn it. But no, like I've got you guys turned now, so it's like you do like you'll see that. You'll read that trivia and you'll be like, that sounds like bullshit.
That sounds like Matt trivia.
Matt
Good
Travis.
For you guys.
Matt Travis.
No, I think it's possible. I just feel like I would catch it.
I think I could see it, to be honest. I could see it.
Yeah. So at this point, they kill David. Antlers through the chest. Apparently.
Quotations.
You can tell he's hurt because he's crying.
It hurts, yeah.
And so at this point in the movie, it could totally be over and you would be satisfied with the movie. Like, oh man, he did it. Everything's back to normal. But we have this very unexpected twist because Max and the mother show up and Max kind of is like, oh man, what happened here? And then he reveals by going up to David, like, I can't remember what the exact line was, but it's how he reveals, like, he's like, all boys need a mother's love. Or I can't remember what he says.
Yeah.
But then this is when he turns around and he's like, that's why I want you. And then like, it's just,
I still want you.
So then we get this whole like, oh man, this is completely out of left field.
Yeah.
And they end up fighting Max very briefly. Like not much happens.
Yeah.
Because Grandpa comes to save the day.
Yeah. And this is like the other step of the surprise, I feel like, where it's like you got step one, Max is the head vampire. Step two, you hear the infamous honking horn. Yeah, and then like it does like an orchestra organ, and then he crashes through the wall of the house, and he's got these big pikes or spikes or whatever that impale Max, and he blows.
He's lucky this went through Max, and then he goes through
his grandson,
his daughter's forehead or something like that. He's like, oh,
final destination.
Or it just hit the kid, it hit Laddie, and he's like, why did you kill Laddie?
You just killed that little boy.
I thought it would have been cool if I rammed a car through the front of my house.
Yeah.
Dude, actually, I think the sound, not to be picky, but the sound you just made of the horn, I think is an old what was your?
It's like a charging song, like charge, like a Civil War era.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, like a trumpet. Like
I think it's the.
Oh, that is. Yeah. Oh, it's like a
ice cream truck.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I might be doing it wrong. Did I do the wrong one?
I think so. Because you did the.
It's La Cucaracha.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, La Cucaracha.
Yeah. But would have been a cool twist at the end is that instead of Grandpa, it was Clint Howard as the ice cream man. And he comes in.
Want some ice cream?
Yeah.
Ice cream man.
Ice cream. This hot summer night.
But Grandpa saves the day, kills Max. All previous vampires are reverted. Hence the David with the cry little sister. Like here in the background, you can tell like he's like,
oh, this hurts. This sucks.
Well, actually,
David is before that because Max looks at him and he's like, he's a young boy again.
Yeah,
I got that backwards. But yeah, so everybody's reverted back to normal, and then you have this very abrupt but appropriate ending.
Oh, it's perfect. It's great.
Grandpa walks to the fridge, grabs something to drink, and he's like, "Oh, the one thing I couldn't stomach about Santa Carla, it's like those damn vampires."
And then just like staring like.
And then the fridge shuts.
Ending. That's an awesome
it's
another
perfect
reveal.
Because you never it's just like it's the double surprise if you never suspect that Max is the head vampire, and then you never suspect that Grandpa is just a straight up probably vampire hunter, which is awesome.
Oh, I never thought about it as a vampire hunter.
I've always like suspected that maybe he was like a vampire hunter that just kind of dealt with it, which is why he's always creating like the spikes and has all this like crazy stuff around the house,
Wow, Hata, you just blew my mind, dude.
Oh, really? This is always something I always thought about as ever since I first saw this movie. It's just like
I always just thought
do you think when he's supposed to be going out with the widow, he's actually going out to hunt vampires?
I think so. That's why that's why he has those massive spikes on his truck, and he's just I feel like he's
the spikes are for the fence that he made.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, so next time when you go see somebody that's making a fence, you're gonna ask them if they're hunting vampires. Like, those for vampires. Like,
what is this? The murder capital of the.
But no, dude, that blows my mind.
I always just kind of. Oh, Matt, quit cutting me off. No, I always just assumed that he knew about it and just kind of like, there's vampires everywhere.
Yeah,
but I do like that. I can tell Matt's just as giddy as about that. That it could be like I'll watch it next time with a different viewing. Like maybe he hunts these things. Who knows? So
maybe that's why he looks at Max the way he does.
Like doesn't suspect,
Yeah.
But maybe also like his visiting the widow Johnson or whatever her name is. Maybe it's Kiefer hunting vampires. I'm going to go hunt some vampires.
Yeah, that's what I was asking you. It's like if that's like the case, like do you think he's hunting vampires in that scene as opposed to actually going to see a widow?
Very possible.
Yeah, now I'm gonna watch this to see if there's like Chris. Let me finish my thought. I'm gonna watch this now. Like I'm gonna watch it again.
Literally, just start off this episode like I never need to see this movie ever again.
Now
it's dead to me. I've seen it a billion times. I got
a reason to watch it again.
Cut to 2 hours later in this podcast. I think I'm gonna watch this movie again.
Thanks, Honto.
Thanks. Revive it, Chris. Go ahead, dude. The floor is yours.
Do you guys like this movie? I'm just
joking. You son of a bitch.
No, I think there is a date because he sprays Windex on himself. So,
that's what people do before they go on dates.
Yeah, that's how I learned. That's what I learned from was the Windex trick from this movie. You don't have any spray, use some Windex.
Yeah.
What if he's doing it to cover up his scent? But his human scent.
But Corey Haim suggested he use Windex, so it wasn't Grandpa's idea. It was actually Corey Haim. Here, use some Windex, Grandpa.
Yeah. What if he just needed anything to be like, I need something to hide like the scent of my blood. I need something strong. And he's like, Windex. He's like, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
Or maybe he got out to the car and then he was like, why the hell would I put Windex on myself? Like he was just trying to humor, like, I'm going out the window, Johnson.
I barely know this kid. I don't know why I'm taking place with this kid.
I'm gonna smell good for the date. But I like this theory. I would like to watch it with that in mind. So Matt, you had something you wanted to say?
No.
Okay.
I said it all.
Now tell me this: the Frog Brothers. Speaking of like
real frogs,
related.
I hate this already. Do they believe like are they kind of in the same boat as what's his name from Fright Night, where he's like they claim they know a lot about vampires, but then they like are surprised or caught off guard that there are like, have they seen vampires? Have they killed vampires? Or is this their first
That's a good question.
Killing and experiencing a vampire in Santa Clara or Santa Carla?
That's a good question.
I
don't think they've done anything before. I feel like they do. I feel like from their experience, they are not winging it, but
based off of did you know this about inviting vampires? Of course I did, like,
yeah, kind of like that stuff. I feel like they've been prepping for it, but they've never had any interaction and just
first,
been like
foray into vampire.
Yeah, so you're saying like it's like there's some history, like maybe they have come across vampires before, and this is but I agree that this is the first time they've ever
journey into
attacked.
Okay,
yeah, because like when they kill Alex Winter, it's like kind of like
surprising when they're getting vampire blood sprayed all over them. Yeah,
like you know, and it's like very naive.
Agreed. Okay, so Lost Boys. Rotten Tomatoes has a 76%. I think I will go ahead and I'll give it I should have wrote this down earlier, but I'll give it a 82%. I think it's a good movie. Not a lot of flaws, but I don't think it's like the most perfect movie ever. I feel like we're all going to say the same thing. It's fun. It's a killer soundtrack. The cast is great. It looks really good. Just an overall really fun horror movie, which I feel like is a very hard thing to pull off the fun and be scary at the same time. So you know what? I'll bump it up to an 85. 85%.
How generous.
How generous.
They're very grateful for your 85%.
Yeah. To put them on the map.
Hanto, what do you got, bud?
I'd probably say this is like in the high 80s, maybe approaching the 90s. I would say like an 89, Okay. This is like a movie that had a lot of impact in the horror genre as a kid, and that really kind of sprung me forward into watching more horror movies over the years, basically. But yeah, it's a really fun time. It's rare to see a movie like this these days. Everything's way too edgy and serious and way too violent that they're like, I think people just forgot how to do a movie like this. So
that's a really good way of putting it. Yeah.
Let's hope that in the future somebody can make something on this caliber of vampire fun comedy horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think to go off of what Hanto's saying, I think it's one of those movies I feel like has to exist in the 80s and maybe early 90s, because it has to have that fun aspect to it. I think this movie is like a 92, 93 for me. And the only reason it's not at 100 is because I've seen it so many damn times.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bored by it.
That's kind of where my score is. It's like I've seen it so many times, but like it was awesome finally talking about it for like an episode, So
yeah,
it probably is higher in my ranking, but as of this viewing, it's probably in the that's why I said like approaching the low 90s. But yeah,
and I think it gets the two greatest aspects right with a vampire movie, and it's fun to be a vampire and the scary horror side to being a vampire. So, and it's one of the rare movies that does that. Like up until this point, if you really kind of look at like vampire history in cinema, it's like the first movie to really get the fun aspect correct, and like to look at it from that angle, like, yeah, it's not all gloom and dread and, you know, and like, and just being like, oh, we have to eat all the time and all that bullshit you always see in vampire movies. But it's actually like, no, it's like, it makes wanting to be a vampire exciting.
And I think that's a really good point what you said. I feel like, I mean, we only saw that second sequel, or the second one, but it loses that fun aspect. You're not having fun with the movie. If I remember correctly, the second one was just a straight horror film, you know?
Serious. Yeah, like I said, like, they're just, nobody knows how to have fun with these types of movies anymore, I feel like.
Yeah, and it should have been girls as far as like a second movie. Like that would have been really fun. And especially if it hit in the 90s, that would have been a lot of fun to watch in the early 90s. Like basically like The Craft, but vampires.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
Just do another Lost Boys riff, you know?
So it sounds like collectively we're kind of in the high 80s, maybe we'll just as a group, like even like a 90%. But I'm glad we've been talking about doing this for years. I'm glad we did it. We will not conclude. We have another episode following this. We're going to do Stand By Me for our summer break movies, which I feel like it's another movie. I probably haven't seen it as much as Stand By Me
I haven't.
or as Lost Boys, but
I've seen it just like maybe a couple times, but I know all the iconic scenes in the movie, you know, so.
Sure. Yeah.
We watched the hell out of this when we were kids.
We did. Yeah. So I'm excited to talk about that. A few things before we do go. We're taking July off, so there'll be no new episodes throughout the July. We'll return
some older, maybe summer themed episodes, or try to see
just to kind of and then we'll probably return like first, second week of August. Are we set on August what that returning month is going to be? Did we decide what was the idea for that August?
We talked about several things.
We talked about back to school.
Back to school is September. We talked about September being back to school.
I'm sorry.
But we talked about August being
listener request, right?
We talked about that. If we do get enough requests in,
which we've had a lot in so far. So everybody's been sending us requests for months and for just movies in general. Thank you, because that's been really awesome.
But then we also talked about doing like a Mother Nature month, and we talked about doing an Indiana Jones month, which I feel like we should just wait to do the Indiana Jones once the new one comes out. So we'll put that. Yeah. We'll cancel that. Put it on the back burner.
Yeah. So by the end of June, we'll let you know what we're following up with in August. We do have almost all of our episodes up on Spotify. We're getting there, including when we tried to do a separate horror movie podcast, and it was Dark House on the Hill. So if you see those on there, that's when we kind of wanted to go separate. But then we're like, you know what? We'll just bring the horror back into CinemaCult.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about horror year round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which was actually Chris's original idea. Like when doing a podcast was, I feel stupid for nixing it, but Chris wanted to do a straight horror movie podcast, and I was like one of the naysayers, and I was like, I don't think that would work. And then like years later, we were like, let's do a horror movie podcast. And that was my idea to do a horror movie podcast.
It could work, and it could still work, but we'd be venturing into some really terrible movie territory.
Well, that's the thing. We talk about that all the time, though.
Stuff that I got made fun of for year one of this podcast of some of my picks. So
we talk about there's plenty all the time.
Well, even like not even the bad ones. I mean, there's a plethora of nightmares we haven't talked about, Halloween movies and Fridays and the Friday After Next and stuff like that.
Friday After Next? What?
What are you talking about? But yeah, so all those episodes we're getting there on Spotify. And then obviously we got the YouTube show. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're trying to record the episodes. We've been doing it since the pandemic, and I think we're going to continue it. We'll still talk about that and figure it out. But if you have any requests for months or episodes or just kind of any suggestions, you can hit us up on Facebook, or you can email us at
CinemaCultPodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and thank you so much for listening. We love doing this. We hope you love listening to it. I'm Chris.
I'm Matt.
I'm Honto.
And we'll see you next time.